Hello everyone, Phoenix Knight here. Welcome to the channel, and welcome back to the spring campaign for Arkham Horror, the card game. Last week when we rode the Essex County Express to Dunwich, both of our investigators got defeated, but we did pick up one experience. While Stella avoided further trauma, Daisy wasn't so lucky. She ended up with another physical trauma, and we're looking at potentially invoking the house rule on trauma again, especially if Daisy suffers another physical trauma. Anyway, we've upgraded the decks with that experience. Link to that video will be in the description down below. So let's move the spring campaign along. Daisy and Stella find themselves in Dunwich for the second half of the campaign, and they'll start it by investigating the blood on the altar. As usual, let's start by setting the scene.
Blood on the Altar. Intro. When you finally reach Dunwich, you are greeted by Zebulon Whately and Earl Sawyer, another man from the village who had met with Dr. Armitage during the incident several months ago. Things ain't looking too good here, Earl tells you. Some folk went missing a few nights ago. Them whippoorwills won't shut up. Dunno what you're doing here, but last time you Arkham folk came around, it was bad news. Very bad news. His eyes blink rapidly and he coughs and looks away. Look, why don't you rest for the night and look for whatever it is you're looking for tomorrow? Zebulon chimes in, putting a wrinkled hand on your shoulder. You begin to protest, but your aching muscles and weary mind won't allow you to refuse. The elderly man offers to take you in for the night and drives you to his home at the outskirts of Dunwich Village. The town is disheveled and eerie, and you find yourself wishing you hadn't come here at all. You fall asleep on the ride over and scarcely remember anything else from that night. When you awaken, you find that Zebulon's house is abandoned, and there is no sign of the elderly man or of Mr. Sawyer. Fearing the worst, you head into the village of Dunwich to investigate, hoping to find answers.
Okay, so yeah, that's not off to a good start, but anyway. We'll switch to Stella again as our lead investigator, so let's go through opening hands and we'll start with Stella's. So first up, Stella has a... Let me turn them all the right way. Stella has a copy of Old Keyring. 1 cost to play, lore on commit. Uses 2 keys. If there are no keys on Old Keyring, discard it. As an action, investigate. Your location gets -2 shroud for this investigation. If you succeed, remove 1 key from Old Keyring. Next up, we have a Rabbit's Foot, which is a 1 cost to play, question mark on commit. Reaction, after you fail a skill test, exhaust Rabbit's Foot to draw 1 card. Take Heart with a max of 1 committed per skill test. You may commit Take Heart to any type of test. If the test fails, the performing investigator draws 2 cards and gains 2 resources. Neither Rain nor Snow. 3 question marks on commit. If the skill test fails, cancel all effects of the failed test. And Live and Learn. Fast, play after your skill test you failed ends after resolving all effects from the failed test. Attempt that test again. You get +2 skill value for the test. And then looking at Daisy's hand, we find Read the Signs. 2 cost to play, will and lore on commit. Investigate plus will. You may ignore any effect or keyword on your location which would trigger during the investigation. If you succeed, discover 1 additional clue at your location. Now, one thing to note about that before I go into the rest of Daisy's hand. The way Read the Signs, and there are some other cards similar to that work, is it doesn't change the type of the test, it just adds the relevant skill to the test. If it's later in Circle and Done, so very slight spoilers for that, but there are some tests that say test skill plus skill, where anything you commit will add, if it adds to both skills, if a card adds to both skills, you get both icons for it. Whereas a card like this doesn't change, like I said, it doesn't change the skill you're actually testing. So Investigate would still be a lore test, which means I'd only be able to commit lore. Speaking of which, I also have a copy of Deduction in my hand. So, Deduction level 2. So it's 2 lore on commit. If you're successful while investigating a location with this committed, discover 1 additional clue at that location, 2 instead if you succeed by 2 or more. Then we have an Occult Lexicon, 2 cost to play, lore on commit. Limit 1 per deck, and after it enters play, you get 3 copies of Bloodright, 1 to your hand, 2 to your deck. I'll go through Bloodright when we actually pull it into the deck, pull it into play. Then we have a shortcut, fast play only during your turn. Choose an investigator at your location, move that investigator to a connecting location. And Lab Assistant. Maximum hand size is increased by 2. After it enters play, draw 2 cards. 2 cost to play, lore on commit. 1 health, 2 sanity on soak, and it takes the ally slot. That's opening hands. Now let's take a look at our starting agenda and act. We'll take a look at the agenda first. Strange Disappearances. Your welcome in Dunwich has been cold. A string of disappearances has left the already aloof townsfolk on edge. Most of them look at you with distrust, and few are willing to help in your investigation. Who knows what will happen if you don't find the location of the missing townsfolk soon. 6 doomed to advance that. That's effectively 5, though, because as part of setup, because the investigators were delayed on their way to Dunwich, we start that agenda off with a doom on it. So unfortunately, we don't get to cancel that doom because of our tarot card, which I will go through once I go through the act. Act 1A, Searching for Answers. The disappearances in town may be related to the events in Arkham. You suspect that something awful is afoot. You must find where the missing townsfolk are being held in order to unveil this conspiracy. Objective: when an investigator enters the hidden chamber, advance. Where's the hidden chamber? I'll explain that more when we move over to the map, but before we do that, let me refresh everybody's memory on the tarot reading. So we left the Justice 11 on its good side, which means we get to cancel the first doom that would be placed on the final agenda of the game, which buys us a turn. On the bad side, if it'll ever zoom in, or if it'll ever focus, there we go. We flipped Wheel of Fortune 10. So once each agenda, the first time any investigator reveals an Elder Sign token, cancel it and treat it as a -5 instead. So yeah, that's going to cause us big problems, but anyway. So now that's everything set up over here, Daisy and Stella will move over to the map, and we'll move with them. Okay, so the 5 outer locations all have scenario cards around them. I'm presuming there'll be effects on them, on these locations, that will tell you when to pull the encounter card there. But anyway, Daisy and Stella will start off with the Village Commons. We'll take a quick look at this on both sides. It is hard to prevent the impression of a faint, malign odor about the village street, as of the masked mold and decay of the centuries. H.P. Lovecraft, the Dunwich Horror. I was about to say Dunwich Legacy, which is the name of the campaign, but not the actual work. This flips into Shroud of 3, no clues. As an action, resign. This is suicide. We're better off hiding out the night. The sparsely scattered houses were a surprisingly uniform aspect of age, squalor, and dilapidation. H.P. Lovecraft, the Dunwich Horror. So we do have a resign option in case Daisy starts getting too busted up, but I'm getting way ahead of myself on that. Anyway, that is everything set up for the scenario. So let's start off with Stella, and I think we'll start looking at her hand. We'll stay right here at the map, actually. So it looks like we just need to get Stella and Daisy out to the outer ring, and then we can move around from there. Anyway, action 1 for Stella will be to move out to Osborne's general store. And yes, those... Wait, that's a one-way connection. So the connection is... Looks like the connection is this way, where Stella can get out to the general store, but for some reason she can't get back to the Village Commons. That seems really weird to me, but oh well. Anyway, that musing aside, take a look at Osborne's general store. From the air of hushed fright at Osborne's store, they knew something hideous had happened. H.P. Lovecraft, The Dunwich Horror. We find Shroud of Two clues. You can't gain resources while you're in Osborne's general store. Fast action, if there are no clues here, draw the encounter card underneath Osborne's general store. Group limit once per game. So we'll get the 2 clues there. Stella would be investigating at even. For action 2, I think we'll go ahead and play a Rabbit's Foot out, which is a reaction after you fail its skill test. Whoops, would help if I give them their resources too. I just realized I never handed out resources. So 5. Stella will only take 4 because she's playing out her aforementioned Rabbit's Foot, and it's a 1 cost. They claimed it would bring me good luck. I wouldn't say that's true, but now I feel like it would be even worse luck to get rid of it. And that takes up her accessory slot. And then action 3 will go ahead and investigate at even. I want to get her into her deck a little bit more. So I'm going to commit Take Heart to this test. So either way I get something out of this. If I succeed, I get the clue. If I fail, I get another action, 2 cards, and 2 resources. So let's see what happens here. Like I said, I'd be happy with either one, maybe leaning 55-45 toward fail. A 0 gets us the clue. Gets us one of the clues. Alright, so sort of a waste, but I'm not, like I said, I'm not completely unhappy with it. But anyway, that will do it for Stella. Daisy's turn will keep us right here as well. For action 1, she'll pay 2 resources to play out her lab assistant. So her maximum hand size is now 10, and she gets to draw 2 cards. So we'll go ahead and draw those. First card up. I've got a plan. 3 cost to play, lore and combat on commit. Fight. This attack uses lore. You deal +1 damage for this attack for each clue you have to a max of +3. And Hawkeye Folding Camera. 2 cost to play, will and commit. After the last clue is discovered from your location, place 1 resource from the token pool on this card as evidence. Limit once per game at each location. While Hawkeye Folding Camera has 1 or more evidence, you get +1 will. 2 or more evidence, +1 lore. 3 or more evidence, +1 sanity. Then we'll use a shortcut to move Daisy up to the schoolhouse. With its crumbling rooftop and rat-infested walls, this is hardly even a house, let alone a schoolhouse. We find Shroud of 4, 1 clue. While you are at the schoolhouse, you can't commit cards to skill tests. Fast action, if there are no clues here, draw the encounter card underneath schoolhouse. Group limit once per game. Fortunately, Daisy is up 1 trying to get the clue, but I can't commit anything to it. So that was action. So action 1 was to play the lab assistant. Action 2 will pay 2 resources to play the aforementioned Hawkeye Folding Camera, which we went through when we drew it. And then action 3 will be to investigate. Daisy is up 1. And Daisy, of course, gets Tentacle Touch to start the scenario. I'm hoping it's not going to be one of those days, Daisy. But anyway, that will do it for Daisy. That will do it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, obviously it's the first turn of the game, so there are no enemies in play. We'll go ahead and reset everything. And then we'll move back up top for the upkeep phase. Stella can't gain resources because she's in Osborne's general store. Daisy will gain 1 and go to 2. At least I believe. Yes, can't gain resources while you're in Osborne's general store. Just wanted to make sure. So Stella will draw. Grit your teeth. Fast play after you fail a skill test. +1 skill value, +1 to each of your skills for the remainder of the round. And then Daisy will draw. Daisy's Tote Bag. 2 costs to play. Will, Lore, and question mark on commit. Daisy Walker deck only. You have 2 additional hand slots which can only be used to hold tome assets. Okay. That'll give me some more options as I find more tomes, but Mythos Phase. Second Doom up on the agenda, because remember we were delayed on our way to Dunwich. Stella will draw. O'Banion's Thug. 4/2/2. 4 combat, 2 health, 2 evade. While O'Banion's Thug is engaged with you, you cannot gain resources. Are we going to have a problem here? 2 damage on attack. Thankfully that did not pop up for Daisy. And then Daisy draws. That was rhetorical, God. Not hold my beer. She gets one as well. So yeah, we're off to a really good start here. But anyway, that will do it for the Mythos Phase. Now we're in the Investigation Phase, and we have a big problem on our hands. Let's see if Stella can get away from hers first as we move down to her play area. I need to get Daisy O'Banion's Thug off of her pronto. So action 1 for Stella, she's going to try to evade hers up 2. -2 evades O'Banion's Thug. And then actions 2 and 3, along likely with Daisy's turn, will take us over to the map. Action 2, Stella's going to move up to the schoolhouse and join Daisy, and that is a... yeah, that is a 2-way connection. Then action 3, Stella will make friends with Daisy's O'Banion's Thug. Stella can take 2 damage a lot more easily than Daisy can, but anyway, that will do it for Stella's turn. Daisy, action 1, will try again to investigate the schoolhouse, so she is up. Is there something else I can play? Because obviously I can't commit. I guess up 1 is the best I can hope to do. Although Daisy actually does have a shield she could have thrown in front of it, but only a 1 damage shield. Still. Daisy's up 1. -3 doesn't get her the clue again. That's fantastic. I don't really want to split them up if I can avoid it, so action 2 will run the investigate back. Cultist is probably nothing good. Yeah, I just saw it. -2. If you fail, add 1 clue from the token pool to your location. Oh joy. Alright, so action 3 seems like it's time for a read the signs, which is probably going to be a way more efficient use of it. But anyway, so we're investigating plus will, which means we're up 4. I'll talk about that in a minute. -2 gets her both clues. So I didn't want to burn or read the signs for just 1 clue, but now that there's 2 on the location, that's probably a better plan. And as a fast action, Daisy will draw the encounter card here, so she'll draw... actually, yeah, Daisy will draw it. She'll draw the Hidden Chamber. So it goes into play. The location and the Hidden Chamber and the location from which it was drawn are connected to one another. The door to the Hidden Chamber is locked. You cannot enter the Hidden Chamber unless key to the chamber is attached to the Hidden Chamber. And it's got Victory 2 on it, so we'll put that up. I'm going to have to do a little bit of adjusting here, but anyway, we'll put that up here. Let's put that to the side, actually. Yeah, that'll work. So we've got the Hidden Chamber all the way up here. But anyway, that will do it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, Stella will take 2 damage from that O'Banion's thug. Thankfully, it's not a hunter, so once we give the other one once we give it the slip, we can go back and probably have Daisy grab that clue at Osborne's general store in her sleep. But anyway, I'm getting more than a little ahead of myself there. So we'll ready everything up. And then we'll also ready that thug. And then we'll move back up top for the upkeep phase. Before we head into the upkeep phase, Daisy should have a resource on the Hawkeye folding camera as experience. Or not as experience, as evidence. So she's now at +1 will. But anyway, now we're into the upkeep phase, and now our ladies can both gain resources. Stella will go to 5, Daisy will go to 1, each of them gaining 1 resource. Stella draws. Will to survive. 4 cost to play, combat agility on commit. Fast to play only during your turn. Don't reveal chaos tokens for the next skill test you perform this turn. Daisy draws. Come on. Higher education. 0 cost to play, will and lore on commit. While you have 5 or more cards in hand, higher education gains as a fast action to spend 1 resource to get 1 of either lore or will for this test. But anyway, that's it for the upkeep phase. Mythos phase, Doom goes up to 3 on the agenda. Stella draws. On Wings of Darkness. Revelation test will 4. If you fail, take 1 damage and 1 horror. Then, disengage from each non-Nightgaunt enemy engaged with you and move to a central location. A Nightgaunt swings down from the sky and grabs you with its clawed hands, carrying you off into the night. This would be very bad for Stella to fail, because it would mean Daisy would end up making friends with her O'Banion's thug. So, I think for this, I'm going to commit neither rain nor snow. Actually, no. Actually, yes, I am going to commit this. So cancel all effects of the failed test, which means the fail probably would probably get canceled here, but I would still be able to trigger Stella's action on that. So there's Stella's extra action. So I'm up 3. Elder Sign. Oh, wait a minute. Wait. We got to remember. Once each agenda, the first time any investigator reveals an Elder Sign token, reveal it and treat it as a -5 instead. So Stella was only up 3, which means she fails by 2. So we cancel a fail effect on Wings of Darkness, but we get to trigger Stella's extra action. At least I think that's how that works. I will double check that and get a ruling on it. But anyway, Daisy will then draw. Kidnapped. Test will or agility 4. If you fail, add an ally asset you control to the pool of potential sacrifices. Then attach Kidnapped to the current agenda. If you have no ally assets, take 2 damage and discard Kidnapped instead. Forced. When attached agenda advances, choose a potential sacrifice at random and place it underneath the agenda deck. Oh, that could be bad. So Daisy would be at... Daisy is going to be testing even. I'll commit her tote bag to bring her up 2. And Stella... I'll actually put a token on that tarot so I know I've activated it, so I know I've had it trigger this agenda. Stella will then commit nothing and leave Daisy up 2. -2 saves us from the effects of Kidnapped. So we don't end up losing Daisy's research assistant. But anyway, that will do it for the Mythos phase. Investigation phase next will drop down to Stella in her play area after I get a ruling on neither rain nor snow. Okay, before we start Stella's turn, just a quick clarification. So I committed neither rain nor snow to her test on Wings of Darkness. So because of that card, and we drew the Elder Sign, which was treated as a -5, we cancel the fail effect on Wings of Darkness, so we don't take 1-on-1, then disengage from each non-Nightgaunt enemy and move to a central location. We don't cancel that, but we still have the fact that we failed. So Stella will first exhaust Lucky Rabbit's Foot to draw a card. She will draw Ornate Bow. Ooh. 4 cost to play, combat and agility on commit. I'll get the right icons. Uses 1 ammo, limit 1 ammo on Ornate Bow. As an action, spend 1 ammo, fight. Uses agility instead of combat. You get +2 agility and deal +2 damage for this attack. As an action, you knock another arrow, place a round on Ornate Bow, but it takes up both hand slots. And then we also do get to trigger the extra action ability for Stella because we still have the fact that we failed the test. But anyway, so the fail action from that, we're going to try to evade O'Banion's Thug, and we're up 2. Actually, so Stella shouldn't have gained a resource from that because she was engaged. She shouldn't have gained the resource at the end of during the upkeep phase because she was engaged. But anyway, Stella is up 2 trying to evade O'Banion's Thug. A 0 gets her away from O'Banion's Thug. Real action 1 will spend all of her resources to play out the aforementioned, I think that's a 4 cost, right? The Ornate Bow. Yes, so we'll go ahead and play that out. We'll get the arrow token, which is right here. Okay, that's the side I want it to be on. This token, I believe, is from Buy the Same Token on Etsy. I'll link their shop in the description down below. But you can see here, we've got a side for an arrow knocked, and a side for the arrow not knocked. So that's all ready to go there. Then action 2, we'll spend the arrow at the O'Banion's Thug that we just exhausted. So we're using agility instead of combat, and we're dealing +2 damage. So it's mildly overkill, but I'd rather have overkill than not. So anyway, Stella is up 2. Do I want to commit anything to this? I'll commit Will to Survive. So we'll put her up 3. -2 means the O'Banion's Thug who's at the schoolhouse goes away. And then action 3... Action 3, I think, along with Daisy's turn, will take us over to the map. Action 3 for Stella will bring us over to the house in the reeds. They are connected, yes. Okay, just making sure. This scenario is a maze of connections, but it looks like we got everything figured out now. Even the locals stay away from this half-sunken hovel. Then it flips over to find. Shroud of 2, 2 clues. While you are in the house in the reeds, you can't play events. Fast action, if there are no clues here, draw the encounter card underneath House in the Reeds. Group limit once per game. So we'll get the 2 clues for that. That will do it for Stella. Daisy is probably going to be moving as well. The only question is, where is she moving? Looks like we can get to... Why did I think I could get to the... Oh, I think I saw the triangle there and got confused. So I was trying to make a connection between the Congregational Church and the schoolhouse, except they don't connect. So never mind that plan. But anyway. Question is, I probably want to move Daisy there as well, so I can work on getting the clues. Because again, the goal here is to keep Daisy and Stella together as much as I can, since another physical trauma probably just ends the spring campaign. So action 1, I'll move over, and I'll send Daisy after those clues with her last 2 actions. Since I can't... Or... I don't want to waste a deduction on a 2 shroud when I'm already base up 3. That really seems like a waste to me. Of course, I didn't burn it on... I used to read the signs on a 4 shroud, so yeah. We'll just go ahead and investigate twice. We're up 3. Cultist, as we saw earlier, was -2. If you fail, add a clue from the token pool to your location, except we don't fail. And action 3 will run the investigate back. -1 gets us the other clue. It'll also get us another copy of evidence on Hawkeye folding camera, which I've been using these. And then we'll draw the encounter card here. That's a fast action, so in case that's an enemy, I'll have Stella draw it. Stella will draw. Strange signs. Oh, crud. I should have had Daisy draw this, but anyway, it's too late to worry about it now. Revelation, test will 3. If you fail, add 1 clue from the token pool to your location. 2 clues instead if there are 3 or 4 investigators in the game. So fortunately, I don't really care about this now because we've already emptied the location. So here I don't really care about the fail. So Stella's going to test this down 1. And since there's no victory there, I don't care about that either. So down 1. -1 puts another clue up on the location. But like I said, since I already emptied the location, got the encounter card off of it, and there's no victory there, I don't care about that location having another clue on it. So anyway, that will do it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, our only enemy is the O'Banion's thug, and he's not a hunter. So we'll go ahead and reset everything. And then we'll move back up top for the Upkeep phase. Stella gains a resource, goes to 1. Daisy gains a resource as well and goes to 2. Stella will draw. Across time, space and time, oh joy. Revelation, discard the top 3 cards of your deck. What happened on the other side? So this was the weakness that... I think I forgot to add these to the decks for DB. I'll make sure the link gets edited before... I'll make sure the decks get edited before I put them up. So that was the story weakness that we added from being sucked beyond time and space. But anyway, Stella will lose. Oh, that's... Well, we have the Ornate Bow in place, so I'm not as peeved by losing the weapons as I would be, but Take Heart definitely hurts. Daisy draws. Arcane Enlightenment. 2 cost to play, 2 will on commit. Max hand size is increased by 1. You have 1 additional hand slot, which can only be used to hold a tome, and it takes up an arcane slot. Yeah, that across space and time really came back to bite us. But anyway, Mythos phase. We go up to 4 doom on the agenda. Stella draws. Psychopomp's Song. Surge and Peril. Revelation, add Psychopomp's Song to any investigator's threat area. Forced, when you take 1 or more damage, take 2 additional damage and discard Psychopomp's Song. I'm adding it to Stella's threat area because taking 3 damage would just take Daisy completely out. And then that surges, so Stella draws. I hate these stupid whippoorwills. So 2 combat, 1 health, 4 sanity. Thankfully it's aloof and a hunter, but it's a hunter. Each investigator at whippoorwill's location gets -1 to everything. It is vowed that the birds are psychopomps lying in wait for the souls of the dying. H.P. Lovecraft, The Dunwich Horror. Thankfully it's aloof, we're also moving this turn. So Daisy draws. Rotting Remains. Revelation test Will 3. For each point you fail by, take 1 horror. A sickening display of gore causes you to retch. You're glad this wasn't you. Alright, so Daisy right now is base up 1. And I can put some horror, actually I can only put 1 horror on the lab assistant, but still. That might be very helpful. So anyway, Daisy is base up 1, and she's not going to commit. I don't think Stella is either. So yeah, up 1. -2, which means Daisy takes a horror. I'll put the aforementioned 1 horror on the lab assistant. Then that will do it for the Mythos phase. Investigation phase next. And I think Stella's turn will take us over to the map. Stella's turn is probably going to be very quick. Action 1, moving over to the schoolhouse. Action 2, back to Osborne's general store and making friends with O'Banion's thug. Action 3, we'll use the bow to take a shot at O'Banion's thug. I'm taking a bit of a risk here because if Psychopomp's Song goes off, that means Stella's going to be taking 4 damage. Yeah, that's a big problem. Stella, that was not a good time to get Tentacle Touch at all. The one thing it gives me is the extra action. Actually, we're actually going to play Live and Learn. So we'll attempt that test again, getting +2 skill value for this test. So now I'm at 8 to 4. Now I'm up 4. That's before we take the survivor action. Well, that's before we take the extra fail action, I should say, not the survivor action. The Stella action, let's put it that way. -2 takes out the thug, thankfully. Right, can't gain resources while there. Okay. Then as a fast action as well, also from the fail, I'll play Grit Your Teeth after you fail a test, so you get +1 to each of your skills for the remainder of the round. So now Stella will go ahead and investigate that with her... Well, actually this would have been action 3, because the first move would have been her fail action. But anyway, action 3 will be to investigate. She's up 1. And I'll commit Old Keyring to put her up 2. Cultist, as we saw earlier, we'll just look at it again. That's the 3rd time I've pulled the Cultist. -2, if you fail, add a clue from your token pool to your location. So thankfully that didn't come through to bite us. We do get the clue. And then we'll see what the encounter card is at Stella's location. So Stella draws. Servant of Many Mouths. Oh boy. Spawn at any empty location. 3 combat, 2 health, 1 evade. Retaliate, forced. After you defeat Servant of Many Mouths, discover one clue at any location. So, I wonder how that interacts with I wonder how that interacts here. I think it just stays here. I'm going to have to... If it comes from here... I'm not sure how that would work if you're drawing it from a location. I think it would just spawn at an empty location. I think we just move it essentially. So I'll just put it at the Village Commons. Thankfully he's not a hunter, and I don't think we need to get back into the Village Commons again. I will also double check that, but I'm pretty sure the way it works is you still follow the spawn instructions even if it comes out from like a location or something like that. But anyway, so now we've got a bit of a problem on our hands. Our investigators are way split up, and I was basically gambling on the location, on the encounter card there being the key to the hidden chamber, so we could get back into the chamber very quickly. But of course, no such luck. So it's down here. My luck, it's probably down here, down at the butt end of nowhere, essentially. But anyway, so Daisy's turn, action 1, will bring us down to the Congregational Church. We have a very real potential for catastrophe here, but I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. I myself did not more than a fortnight ago catch a very plain discourse of evil. Powers on the hill behind my house, wherein there were a rattling and rolling, groaning, screeching, and hissing, such as no things of the earth could raise up. H.P. Lovecraft, The Dunwich Horror. Flips into Shroud of 1, 2 clues. Forced. After Congregational Church is revealed, search the encounter deck for a humanoid enemy and spawn it at the Village Commons. Shuffle the encounter deck. As a fast action, if there are no clues here, draw the encounter card underneath Congregational Church, group limit once per game. So if we can spawn a non-hunter there at the Village Commons, that would be great. But yeah, so we get another Servant of Many Mouths. First humanoid that we saw. I won't go through that again. Look at the 2 clues there. And then we'll probably put Daisy to work on getting those clues. Alright, so I don't really want to waste a deduction on a 1 shroud, but the action swing could be important, especially if we need to get down to another location. But again, Stella's all done, so we're very much out of it this round. We're starting to run out of time a little bit, but it's not catastrophic yet. But anyway, action 1, action 1 was to move. Action 2, I'm going to investigate, but I'm deciding if I'm going to commit this deduction in my hand. I'm up base 5, so it seems like a waste. I'm up base 5, and the Elder Sign is normal again, because Stella pulled it early in the agenda. So I don't think we're going to use the deduction just yet. I may regret this, but up 5. Skull. Oh boy. -1 for each location in play with no encounter card underneath it, max -4. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 cards in 4 locations in play with 5 in play. That's a -4 though, so not even the skull boned us there. And then action 3 will run that back, still at 5. Thankfully that was a max of -4 there. Skull again. So we get the clue, that's discarded. And I'm actually going to wait to draw the encounter card there. I would normally draw it now, but I don't want to risk it being an enemy. Speaking of which, let's move into the enemy phase now. So the Whippoorwill will move down to the Congregational Church. But again, being aloof, it won't engage Daisy, thankfully. So anyway, that's it for the enemy phase. We'll go ahead and start re-readying everything. And then we'll move back up top for the upkeep phase. Each of our ladies gains a resource. Stella goes to 1. Daisy goes to 3. Stella draws. Another rabbit's foot, so the lucky rabbit's foot should also have refreshed. That probably should have refreshed last turn, but it's a little too late to worry about that now. What did I do with Stella's hand? I don't think she's hellbent. I don't think she's... She might actually be out of cards in her hand right now. Seems weird, but... I do think she's actually got no cards in her hand right now, unless... Yeah, it seems like she's got no cards in her hand. And then Daisy draws. Scroll of Prophecies, 3 costs to play, uses 4 secrets. As an action, spend 1 secret, choose an investigator at your location. That investigator draws 3 cards, then discards 1 from their hand, which would give us access to Daisy's tome action for the first time all scenario. But anyway, Mythos phase, we get our 5th Doom on the agenda. Stella draws. Unhallowed Country. Revelation that put Unhallowed Country into play in your threat area. You can't play ally assets. Treat the printed text box of each ally asset you control as if it were blank. At the end of your turn, test Will 3. If you succeed, discard Unhallowed Country. So Stella's threat area is jumping right now. Daisy draws. Good old Ancient Evils, just in time to advance the agenda. Remember, it's got, well, for anybody who's brand new to the channel, Ancient Evils. Revelation and put 1 Doom on the current agenda. This effect can cause the current agenda to advance. Dark forces stir against you. If you do not act quickly, a sinister plot will be fulfilled. So just an explanation of why Ancient Evils is so feared and hated in this game is because in the Mythos phase, you normally check after you put Doom up on the agenda in the Mythos phase whether it advances or not. But Ancient Evils has a clause named the Ancient Evils clause that says this effect can cause the current agenda to advance. So basically it kind of skips you a turn and sets you back around. But anyway, let's take a look at the back of this card. So Agenda 1B, First Blood. Whippoorwills gather along the gambrel roofs of Dunwich and begin to shriek in jubilation. The people of Dunwich believe that the presence of whippoorwills foreshadows somebody's imminent death. Do they long for your death? Is the victim someone else? If there are 3 or more potential sacrifices, choose one of them at random and place it underneath the agenda deck without looking at it. So as you can see here, we have 5 potential sacrifices, so we'll give this a shuffle. Oop. Trying not to look at anything. And a cut. And there's our first sacrifice going beneath the agenda deck. We'll put it back there. I want to make sure I can see it. We'll do that with it. Okay. So, now we have a fast action window coming out of the Mythos phase, which Daisy's going to use to draw the encounter card at Congregational Church, because she happens to be there. So Daisy will draw another Whippoorwill, which tells me exactly where the key to the chamber is. So Daisy is now -2 to everything, which is very unfortunate, but yeah, that's rather unfortunate that we ended up with the... Well, we now know where the key is. Of course, it ended up as far from the hidden chamber as we could get it, but alas, no help for it now. But anyway, wait, 1, 2, 3. So Daisy should actually have her last evidence on her folding camera. And then speaking of Daisy, we'll start off with her, and her turn will take us over to the map. Because the whippoorwills are all aloof, Daisy can play peekaboo with them for days, so we're going to move down to the aforementioned burned ruins. It is not reassuring to see, on a closer glance, that most of the houses are deserted and falling to ruin. H.P. Lovecraft, The Dunwich Horror. Wait a minute. Oh, that's connected to Square. Never mind. And we don't have Square in the game, so this location... Shroud of 2, 3 clues. Reaction. After you fail a skill test while investigating the burned ruins, flip 1 clue token on the burned ruins to its doom side. As a fast action, if there are no clues here, draw the encounter card underneath burned ruins, group limit once per game. And I know exactly what that card is. So I think to get 3 clues here, I think this is probably worth a deduction. I was figuring either the number of clues or the shroud difficulty. So that's going to put me 8 to 2. I'm up 6. And I get 3 clues if I succeed by at least 2. And actually, the agenda is now active again, in terms of the first Elder Sign being a -5. So if I'm up 6, I'm going to commit Higher Ed as well. Just to go up 7, so that not even the Elder Sign can screw me on that. A 0 gets me all 3 clues. And the card I know by process of elimination. I'll say it in English one of these days. To the shock of no one, it's the key to the chamber. Revelation, take control of the key to the chamber. Fast action, if the hidden chamber is connected to your location, attach key to the chamber to the hidden chamber. The tarnished silver key was hidden and kept safe out of sight. It must lead somewhere important. It does. Then we would get another evidence on Hawkeye folding camera, except only 3 are relevant. So Daisy will now start her trek back to the... back to the hidden chamber. We'll move her up to the Congregational church, and that will end her turn. Stella... Nope. Stella really doesn't have much of a turn right now. So just on general principles, she'll knock an arrow on Ornate Bow for action 1. Action 2, she'll move to the schoolhouse. And then do I just wait for Daisy there? Yeah, I think... Well, Daisy can get up to the... Barring anything catastrophic, Daisy can get to the hidden chamber on her next turn. And that might be what the goal is. Because right now, Daisy's 3 moves away from it, so she can get up... She can get up there on her next turn. But again, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself on that. So, I want to be able to have Stella help if I can. So I think I'm going to move Stella 1 location closer to the house in the reeds. And action 3, she's going to draw a card because we need to replenish her hand anyway. Stella draws. Dumb Luck. Fast, play after you... 2 cost to play, 2 agility on commit. Fast, play after you fail a skill test by 2 or less during an evasion attempt against a non-elite enemy. Place that enemy on top of the discard deck, on the encounter deck. But anyway, that will do it for Stella that will do it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, the Whippoorwills are our only hunters, but they're both making friends with Daisy right now. So I'll go ahead and reset everything. And then we'll move back up top for the Upkeep phase. Stella gains 1 resource and goes to 2. Daisy gains 1 resource and doubles her up at 4. Stella draws. Another Grit Your Teeth, which we saw earlier. Daisy draws. Across space and time, discard the top 3 cards of your deck. We saw this earlier when Stella had it happen to her. 1, 2, 3. And we lose Encyclopedia, Death 13, and a shortcut that would have actually been very helpful in this situation. But anyway, no help for it now. Mythos phase, we got our first Doom on the new agenda. Stella draws. Sorted and Silent. Revelation, attach Sorted and Silent to your location. Forced. At the end of the round, each investigator at attached location it takes 1 horror. Forced. When the agenda advances, discard Sorted and Silent. Good thing we hopefully won't be there for too much longer. But I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself there. Daisy draws. Unhallowed Country. Revelation, put it into play in your threat area. Oh! I should have tested Stella's. I will do that in a second. That's at the end of your turn. So we saw this earlier. I'll go ahead and test Stella's Unhallowed Country real quick. So she is... So what was her draw for the turn? I think Grit Your Teeth was her draw, so she wouldn't have had that yet. She is at even. I will commit the... I don't really need that, because Stella doesn't really use her allies too much. So Stella's at even. A 0 actually gets rid of it. Okay, so now we've got that straight. That comes back to her hand. And now everything proceeds like we wanted it to. So anyway, now that will do it for the Mythos phase. Investigation phase now. And Daisy's turn is going to take us over to the map to start. We're not going to get cute here with Daisy's turn, especially with there being this much that can go haywire. Action 1, she's going to move to the house in the reef. Reef's action 2 to the schoolhouse. Action 3 to the hidden chamber, whereas a fast action, she'll attach the key to the chamber to the hidden chamber, which will advance the act. What was hidden? You find your way into the hidden chamber where you believe the missing folk are being held, but the horrors that confront you there fray the edges of your sanity. Bound by chains in a secluded corner of the room is an unspeakable creature with the face of a man. It wheezes and wrestles to free itself as it notices your entrance. The many mouths covering the creature's body are covered in blood and gristles of meat, as though it were feeding recently. With a hideous croak, the creature croaks with 7 mouths. Then it lurches forward as though to grab you, and several of its chains snap. Reveal each unrevealed location, which we've revealed them all. Move all clues in play, including those on each investigator, to the hidden chamber. Spawn the set-aside Silas Bishop enemy in the hidden chamber. Oh, this is bad. So we get all the clues back on the location. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And then we also get Silas Bishop. Oh, this is very bad. I shouldn't have done this. Silas Bishop infused with evil. 3 combat, 6 per investigator, so 12 health, 7 evade value. Monster, Abomination, Elite. Massive. Silas Bishop cannot make attacks of opportunity. What walked on the mountains that May night? What Rudmus horror fastened itself on the world in half human flesh and blood? H.P. Lovecraft, The Dunwich Horror. Victory 2, 2 and 2. So Stella's going to need to evade that post-haste. But anyway, let's take a look at the... I think I may have just completely hosed the spring campaign with my stupidity, but Act 2A, The Chamber of the Beast. The pitiful beast lunges to grab you with slimy arms, its many jaws snapping in hunger. Killing it would be merciful, but perhaps there is something else to discover about this creature. Objective: if Silas Bishop is defeated, R1. Objective: if there are no clues on the hidden chamber, advance. So basically we discover 12 clues or deal at 12 damage. That's kind of our situation here. So Stella, and unfortunately that is not elite, so that's going to be a small problem. But anyway, end of Daisy's turn. She does test her Unhallowed Country. She's base up 1. -1 makes it go away. Alright, so basically, because I screwed up, we're in a situation now of either Stella evades Silas or the spring campaign is over. But anyway, I should have waited to do that, but that was very dumb on my part. Actually, Daisy can take 1 hit from Silas. But yeah, we're basically in a situation where the spring campaign would be all but over, I would say. So for Stella's first two actions, we're going to move into the hidden chamber. And action 3 is going to need me to try to evade that, so I can get her to even. Can Daisy get her up anything? No. But still, I think even is probably... Actually... We're going to try this. I'm going to try to evade Silas down 3. Thankfully, he doesn't have alert or retaliate. So, I don't think there'll be a big problem there. I'm going to make this test fully expecting to fail because I've got a little bit of a plan. Okay, a 0 evades, but that's fine because I've... right. So we do trigger the fail action. Then because we failed, I'll exhaust the Rabbit's Foot as well to draw a card, so Stella will draw. Granny Orn, Tough Old Bird, 4 cost to play, will on commit. You get +1 will, and when an investigator at your location would fail a skill test, exhaust Granny Orn. Either fails by 1 less or 1 more. 1 health, 3 sanity on soak. But anyway, here's where the plan starts to come in, because I'm going to pay 1 resource to play Grit Your Teeth, to get +1 to each of your skills for the remainder of the round. Actually, do we wait on that, actually? If Daisy can take a hit from Silas, but 1, I think we wait, actually. I think we'll sit tight on that. Which means Stella will draw a card since Silas can't make attacks of opportunity, so Stella will draw. Live and learn. Ooh, this may have been the right plan to wait. But anyway, that will do it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, Daisy and Stella both take 2 and 2. Daisy will throw one of the damage on her lab assistant and take the one herself. She'll also throw one of the horror on the lab assistant and take the other one herself. So the lab assistant's defeated. Stella has to take... Actually, Stella's got to take all of that damage, so she's got to take 4 damage and discard Psychopomp's Song. And then she takes 2 horror as well. So anyway, also in the enemy phase, the Whippoorwills move toward us, 1 location. Right. Yeah, this is going swimmingly. But anyway, we'll reset everything here. And then we'll move back up top for the upkeep phase. Stella will gain 1 resource and go to 3. Daisy will gain 1 and go to 5. Stella will draw. A test of will. 1 cost to play, will on commit. Fast to play. When an investigator at your location draws a non-weakness treachery card, cancel that card's revelation effect, exile a test of will. So this is what I was mentioning in the upgrades video about exiling cards, where you don't get them back unless you're able to rebuy them. Daisy draws. Drawn to the Flame. This is actually very helpful. 0 cost to play, will and lore on commit. Draw the top card of the encounter deck, then discover 2 clues at your location. I'll go through the flavor text on that later. Mythos Phase. Doom on the agenda goes up to 2. Stella draws. Eager for Death. Revelation test will 2. Increase this skills test's difficulty by 1 for each point for each damage on you. If you fail, take 2 horror. So this would be a test of 8. And we only take 2 horror if we fail. If they can catch the fleeing soul when it leaves the body, they instantly flutter away, chittering in demonic laughter. H.P. Lovecraft, The Dunwich Horror. So, fail. It's a test of 8, and I fail if I take 2 horror, but that automatically would trigger Stella's action. Yeah, I might as well take the test. Because a test of will requires if and investigator, so it doesn't have to be, so it could be Daisy too, and we might need it. Okay, -1. So yeah, Stella takes 2 horror. And her fail action is active this round. So yeah, and then Daisy draws. Hunting Nightgaunt. Oh joy. So 3 combat, 4 health, 1 evade. Hunter. While attempting to evade Hunting Nightgaunt, double the negative modifiers of each revealed chaos token. They had no faces at all to smile with, but only a suggestive blankness where a face ought to be. H.P. Lovecraft. 1 and 1 on attack. Oh, that's Daisy's card. It would help if I put it engaged with the right investigator, but anyway. That will do it for the Mythos Phase. Into the Investigation Phase now, and we need to figure out which route we're taking with this. Are we going to try to investigate the location, or are we going to try to kill Silas? Woof. Well, both of our investigators are actually near defeat by damage right now, so we really need to figure this out and fast, because those whippoorwills are still 2 moves away, so we've got some time on that. But anyway, well, I'm going to have a little think about this turn. I'll be right back. We're far from in a good place with this scenario right now, but we're not in dire straits yet. We do still need to get Silas off. We still need to get Silas evaded if we can. So I think Stella's turn will start over. We'll start down in her play area. First things first, Stella is going to try to evade Silas and break massive engagement. She's down 3. Do I commit now? I don't think I do, actually. I think we wait. I've got a little bit of a plan, so I'll wait. Down 3. A 0 fails to evade, so first of all, I'll pay 1 resource to play Grit Your Teeth. So we have +1 to all skills for the rest of the round. Then I'll play Live and Learn to attempt the test again, getting +2 skill value from the test. So between that and Grit Your Teeth, that brings me up to even. I'll commit Dumb Luck to go up 2. and Rabbit's Foot to go up 3. Daisy, I don't think, has any agility to commit. She does not. But anyway, up 3. -1 evades Silas, thankfully. That was the fail action. So that's all discarded. Then actual action 1. Show my friends the hunting night gaunt. Action 2 will take a shot at it with the bow. So we're up 5, 7, we're up 4. Up 4 for 3 damage. -2 puts 3 damage on the Night Gaunt. That was action 1. Action 2. We'll try to evade it up 4. We're up 4, but we're doubling all negative modifiers. Or we just get flat out tentacle touched, which is also a thing that can happen. And then we'll try to evade it again, mostly so I can try to knock another arrow on the bow without an attack of opportunity. Doubling a skull, really? So that's basically a minus. That turned into a -8. Because we have no locations with encounter cards under them right now. So that is the end of Stella's turn. Daisy's turn will take us to her play area. Action 1 for Daisy will start off by paying 2 resources. As one of my resource tokens goes flying. Start off by playing an Occult Lexicon, which will get us the blood rights. So we'll take a quick look at that. Blood right, one of which is going into her hand. Will, lore, and combat on commit. Draw 2 cards. Discard up to 2 cards from your hand. For each card you discard this way, you may either gain a resource or spend 1 resource to deal 1 damage to an enemy at your location. This effect doesn't provoke attacks of opportunity. So we'll do that. I'm debating on whether I want to use that to finish off the Night Gaunt, or to just take out the Whippoorwills that are coming over. But because it is very tempting to take out those those anti-stat birds. We'll have to give that a little bit of thought, but anyway. I think action 2... Do we just start on the location? That might end up being an all terrible idea. Just go to work on trying to get some clues off. I guess the question is, what route am I taking? Am I taking the clue route, or am I taking the defeat Silas route? I think we're better off doing clues, because we've got a lot more ways to get clues still to come. In both of their decks, we have it than we do to probably kill Silas. But anyway, so Daisy is up 3. Up 3 investigating. Zero gets her 1 clue, then we'll investigate again. So we get 2 clues off the location. And that will do it for Daisy, that will do it for the investigation phase. The enemy phase will take us over to the map. The Whippoorwills will move over to the schoolhouse, coming over toward us. We still have one turn before they land on us. And then Stella takes 1 and 1 from the hunting Nightgaunt. We may need to use that blood right to take the... We may need to use the blood right to take that hunting Nightgaunt out, but... Because that would land on Daisy, and then we'd basically be in the soup at that point. But anyway, that will do it for the enemy phase. We'll go ahead and ready everything up, including our friend Silas. We also need to evade this round. Then we'll move back up top for the upkeep phase. Stella will gain 1 resource and go to 3. Daisy will gain 1 and go to 4. Stella will draw. Oops. 2 cost to play, 2 combat icons and commit. Fast, play after you fail a skill test by 2 or less while attacking an enemy engaged with you. Deal this attack's damage to a different enemy at your location. That may change my plans a little bit, but we'll see. Daisy draws. Read the signs, which we saw earlier. We investigate plus lore and discover 1 additional clue at the location. But anyway, that's it for the upkeep phase. Mythos phase, we got our 3rd Doom on the agenda. Stella draws. Hunted down. If there are no unengaged criminal enemies in play, Hunted Down gains Surge. And we have somehow no criminal enemies in play, so Hunted Down will gain Surge. I won't bother with if there are 1 or more engaged criminal enemies in play, because there are no criminal enemies in play, so this is still Stella's card. She draws. Servant of Many Mouths. Spawn any empty location. We have 2 of these at the village commons, and now we have 1 at the burned ruins where we'll never go to it. Daisy draws. Strange Signs. Revelation test lore 3. If you fail, add 1 clue from the token pool to your location. 2 instead if there are 3 or 4 investigators in the game. So Daisy is up 3, and I think that is where she will test. So, of course, Daisy fails the test miserably because that's a -4. So we add a clue to the location. Fantastic. Alright, so we'll go ahead and start with Daisy, and we'll start in her play area. Should have also mentioned that we're moving into the investigation phase, but hindsight, as they say. Action 1 will be the aforementioned blood right. So we draw 2 cards, discard up to 2 cards from your hand. For each card you discard this way, you may either gain a resource or spend 1 resource to deal 1 damage to an enemy at your location, and this doesn't provoke attacks of opportunity. So Daisy's 2 cards, that's discarded. So first up, Daisy finds another blood right. This is actually very handy, and deduction. This is perfect. So we're going to get a lot of clues out in the next couple of rounds. And I will discard... I'll discard Arcane Enlightenment. And I've got a plan. I think we're going to stick to the clue plan. So we'll gain a resource from 1. And then from the other... This should have been refreshed as well. Rabbit's Foot for Stella. So from that... So I discarded 2 cards. I will spend... Well, I think I'll gain a resource and I'll spend a resource to deal a damage to that hunting Nightgaunt. Let's see, then we're up 3. Up 3 right now, so action 2, I'll actually pay 2 resources to play Read the Signs, so I'm investigating plus lore, or I'm investigating plus will. Right, so right now I'm at 10 to 3, and I'll commit deduction to the test. So if I succeed, so right now I'm at 12 to 3. I'm up 9. So I'm getting discover 1 additional clue. So 2. I'm discovering 4 clues if I succeed by at least 2. 3 is I'm discovering 3 clues as long as I succeed. 4 if I succeed by 2 or more. -2 gets me 4 clues. Right? Yeah. So I get 1 clue for the investigate. Actually, wait a minute. Let me count that out again. So I get 1 clue for the investigate, another for read the signs. Yeah, so 4 clues. And then for action 3, I think we'll play another Blood Right. So we'll draw 2 cards. First card up is an Arcane Enlightenment, which will probably be discard fodder because it's just another 2 will commit. And I've got a plan. That actually makes things moderately interesting because that might change my plans on... Probably doesn't, but we'll try it. Actually, Daisy, oh boy. Okay. Change of plans. I probably need to have Daisy... Ugh, this is actually really bad. Probably need to have both Daisy and Stella leave. Because Silas is going to pound both of them into pieces. But, so I think using that second Blood Right was a bad idea. I didn't realize that. So, action 1 was the investigate. Action 2, I think action 2 for Daisy. I think the rest of Daisy's turn. Yeah, because we read the signs. Wait a minute. We read the signs committing deduction. Okay, never mind. So, did we already draw? I think we already drew from it. Actually, we'll do this in a slightly different order. We're going to move over to the map. I apologize for the slight ramble there, but I forgot that we're in pretty dire straits. So anyway, wait. Hold on. Daisy Blood Right already? Yeah, I think she did Blood Right actually. She Blood Righted to kill Stella's Night Gaunt. Then she did the investigate where she got all the clues. So I think action 3 is actually going to be to move to the... what location is that? The schoolhouse. Where she's -2 everything, but I think it's basically going to be get clues and duck here. So anyway, that will do it for Daisy. Stella is going to knock an arrow before she leaves. For action 1. Then action 2, she's going to move to the schoolhouse. Then action 3, she's going to draw a card. She will draw. Dumb Luck. 2 cost to play, 2 agility on commit. Fast play after you fail a skill test by 2 or less during an evasion attempt against a non-elite enemy. Place that enemy on top of the encounter deck. Right. So, yeah. Anyway, that will do it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, the whippoorwills are thankfully aloof. They're just causing us stat problems. Of course, this could probably be the mythos phase where everything gets hosed, but I'm getting ahead of myself there. The servitors of many mouths do not move. So we'll go ahead and reset everything. And then we'll move back up top for the upkeep phase. Stella will gain 1 resource and go to 4. Daisy will gain 1 and go to 3. Stella will draw. A Scrapper, 2 cost to play, combat agility on commit. Fast action, spend 1 resource to get either 1 for a test. Then Daisy draws. For a copy of I've Got a Plan before I derped and realized I didn't have an extra action. But anyway, Mythos Phase. Doom on the agenda goes up to 4. Stella draws. Psychopomp's Song, which will go right back into her threat area, and I will be right back. Sorry about the small delay there. Anyway, so as we were coming back to our card, Psychopomp's Song, Stella had this in her threat area earlier, and she will again. I mean, it's ultimately going to take whoever takes the next hit out, but... And then it's got Peril on it, so Stella draws. Hunted down, still no criminal enemies in play, so it gains Surge. So this is the 3rd card Stella's drawing this turn. This is ridiculous. And it surges into an Ancient Evils. Fantastic. Daisy draws. Another Ancient Evils. Good for advancing the agenda yet again. I don't think we ever went through this one. The Old One's Hunger, Agenda 2A. As the sun sets, the frightened townsfolk retreat into their homes and lock their doors. It is clear to you that many of them know more than they are letting on. A sickening feeling turns over in your stomach as the village's true nature becomes clear. Then we needed 6 Doom to advance that, which we just got thanks to 2 Ancient Evils in 1 turn. Abandoned Streets. More whippoorwills flock to Dunwich Village as the night progresses. The other townsfolk, notoriously superstitious, are terrified by the bird's presence. With the doors around you shut and locked, you find yourselves alone in the streets of Dunwich. If there are 2 or more potential sacrifices, choose one of them at random and place it underneath the agenda deck without looking at it. So once again, we have 4 potential sacrifices, so we'll shuffle these up. And we'll place that one beneath the agenda deck. Agenda 3A, Feed the Beast. The rhythmic screeching of the whippoorwills fills the night. If the superstitions of Dunwich are correct, their song portends impending death. But for whom? 7 Doom to advance that. In the state we're in, potentially us. But I'm getting a little ahead of myself on that regard. Anyway, that will do it for the Mythos Phase. Investigation Phase now. And, it is tempting to just duck and try to get clues. Actually, to deal 1 damage to an enemy at your location. Actually, we'll start with Daisy and we'll start in her play area. So I'm going to look up a ruling on this, but I'm pretty sure I can do this. So I'm going to play, so for action 1, Daisy's going to play her Blood Right. Here's what I'm thinking. So I draw 2 cards from it, discard up to 2 cards from my hand. For each card I discard this way, I can either gain a resource or spend 1 resource to do 1 damage to an enemy at your location. The attack doesn't provoke attacks, or this action doesn't provoke attacks of opportunity. So what I'm thinking is I draw the 2 cards, then discard 2, and I should be able to ping each whippoorwill for 1, theoretically. But anyway, first card up is the Arcane Enlightenment, which again will be discard fodder most likely, and a Shriveling. This might not be discard fodder because we're base up 1. Trying to attack if I want to start attacking Silas, but I'm not completely sure I do. But anyway, we're going to discard. Did we discard and I've Got a Plan earlier? Yes, we did. So I guess am I committing to trying to get those clues? I've got 7 left to get. We'd have to be able to take Silas out in one turn, and I've still got 7 clues left on that location to get. So I think we're just going to discard the Arcane Enlightenment and the Shriveling to spend 2 resources to take out both the Whippoorwills. I don't want them causing us any more problems. I don't want them causing us any problems during any of the phases, honestly, but especially during the Mythos phase. So I think that's 2 copies of Blood Red I've used. Yep, that's 2 copies of Blood Red I've used. Action 2, I'll draw a card. So Daisy will draw. Eureka, okay, that's not completely unwelcome. Will, Lore, and Agility on commit. If the skill test is successful, the investigator performing this test searches the top 3 cards of his or her deck for a card, draws it, and shuffles. And then for action 3, Daisy will take a resource. And then that will do it for Daisy. Do we just go into the deck trying to get clue stuff? That's actually not a terrible idea. So I think Stella, for action 1, will draw a card. She will draw. Neither rain nor snow. We saw this earlier. Action 2, she'll draw again. And this time she'll draw. Oh, and when the agenda advanced, which it did, Sorted and Silent is gone. So Stella draws for action 2. Called by the Mists, fantastic. Revelation, put Called by the Mists into play in your threat area. Forced, after you initiate a skill test with difficulty 4 or higher, take 1 damage. 2 actions to discard it. So basically, Stella now can't initiate a skill test of difficulty 4 or higher without taking herself out. And then action 3, she'll draw again. She'll draw. Another Neither Rain Nor Snow. So that'll probably be useful when we're over in Silas's room trying to figure out what to do about him. But anyway, that will do it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, no enemies in play. No hunter enemies, I should say, in play. So anyway, we'll go ahead and reset everything. And then we'll move back up top for the upkeep phase. Alright, Daisy and Stella are each able to gain resources. Stella goes to 5. Daisy goes to 3. Stella draws. Atychophobia. Revelation, put it into play in your threat area. Forced, after you fail a skill test, take 1 horror. 2 actions to discard it. Daisy draws. Another Eureka, which will probably be very helpful, but I'm getting a little ahead of myself on that. Mythos phase, we actually cancel out the first doom we put on the agenda because of Justice 11, so the agenda effectively has 8 on it. Stella draws. Another Whippoorwill. This is not good. Daisy draws. On Wings of Darkness. Oh joy. Revelation, test Agility 4. If you fail, take 1 damage and 1 horror. Then, disengage from each non-Nikon enemy with you and move to a central location. That would be catastrophic. So Daisy's going to commit... Do I want to commit both Eurekas to this? I think I do. So I'm going to get her up. I'm going to get her to even. And then Stella is going to commit one of her... Actually, I've got a better idea. I just looked at Stella's hand again, and I'm wondering if I just cancel that and exile a test of will. Yeah, I think that's probably a better plan. So Stella's going to spend 1 resource to play her a test of will 1. So we cancel the card's revelation effect and then exile a test of will. So I'll put that up there. And that's gone. So now we're into the investigation phase. I think Stella's is probably going to be very... I'm actually in a pretty risky spot here. Because if Daisy goes in, draws the uses Drawn to the Flame and pulls an enemy, she's basically trapped in there with the likely end of the spring campaign. So, and that evade is a 7, so Stella would take a damage and get taken out by that. So I think Stella's turn will start. So I think in the investigation phase, we'll start with Stella and we'll start in her play area. Two actions for Stella to discard Called by the Mists, because we need to be able to initiate an evade test against Silas, most likely, without taking damage. And then for action 3... action 3, do I have Daisy try to make the evade? That would be highly problematic. I think we do move... I think we are going to have to probably move in there again. And if Daisy try to evade that, the best she can do is get to even, though, and then I'm left hoping for a pull. And a bad encounter card probably just puts paid to the spring campaign. So, but I think that's the only way we have a chance of getting out of this scenario. So, yeah. I think we're just going to try it. Yeah, I think we're going to have to risk it. So action 3 for Stella will take us over to the map. Action 3 for Stella, and I suspect I'm committing suicide by doing this, is to move into the hidden chamber. And then Daisy's turn, action 1, she'll move into the hidden chamber as well. Action 2, we'll play Drawn to the Flame. And yes, I know I'm taking a big risk here, but again, I don't really have time to care right now. So Daisy's card is a mobster. Okay, this plan looks like it blew up in my... Well, the only way it blew up in my face is if Daisy can't evade Silas Bishop, and that seems very likely. But anyway, 2s across the board. Retaliate, forced. After mobster attacks you, lose 1 resource. You better scram, pal, unless you're hungry for boot leather and lead. Fantastic. So Daisy is going to try to evade... Well, she's going to get the 2 clues first. Not that I think it's going to matter. I may have just blundered into the end of the spring campaign. That's exactly what I was afraid of, though. But anyway, Daisy will commit 2 Eurekas. We'll commit both your Eurekas to get down 3. And then Stella will commit one of her copies of Neither Rain Nor Snow to get her to even. So we ignore all effects of the failed test. So we are at even, but again, just to kind of... I can't understate the situation enough here. The spring campaign hinges on this poll. That's not a hyperbole. That's not me being overly dramatic, because Stella would take her first trauma of the campaign and it would be physical. Daisy, however, would take her 3rd physical, and as I mentioned at the start of the video, 3 physical trauma. Daisy just is not playable. But anyway, getting ahead of myself here. So at even, moment of truth. -2 ends the spring campaign right on the spot, because... So the Eurekas all go away. Neither Rain Nor Snow goes away. That was Daisy's last action as well. So that's going to do it for Daisy in the investigation phase. Enemy phase. The Whippoorwill moves in and makes friends. And then enemies attack. Silas Bishop will attack both of our ladies for 2 damage and 2 horror. Daisy can take the 2 horror. Stella also can, but neither one can take the damage. So Stella's first trauma would be physical. Daisy's third trauma is also physical. So the spring campaign's over right here. Anyway, with that, let's move back up top to resolve the end of the scenario. Resolution's all queued up, so let's get right into it. Come on. There.
If no resolution was reached, each investigator resigned or was defeated. The cries of the whippoorwills fade into the distance, and the town of Dunwich is filled with an eerie silence. All that can be heard is the dry whistle of the chill wind and the slow rustling of dead leaves. There is no sign of the missing townsfolk, nor will there be ever again. In your campaign log, record that the ritual was completed.
Okay, this is just for formality's sake.
If there were any potential sacrifices remaining at the end of the game, place them underneath the agenda deck. In your campaign log...
Zip it for a second. So yeah, we had 3 more potential sacrifices, which means they all go under the agenda deck. Okay, continue.
Under Sacrifice to Yog-Sothoth, record the names of each unique card that is underneath the agenda deck. Each of those cards are removed from all players' decks and can no longer be included in any player's decks for the remainder of the campaign. If an investigator with the Necronomicon, Olas Wormius translation, in his or her deck was defeated, in your campaign log, record that the Necronomicon was stolen. The Necronomicon, Olas Wormius translation, must be removed from that investigator's deck.
Okay, before we jump into that, the next 2 points that we're going to talk about here. So, if you remember back in the Miskatonic Museum 2 weeks ago, we actually destroyed the Necronomicon, so that it wasn't there to be stolen. But, so yeah, all of our sacrifices moved over to the agenda deck, which means nobody of the characters survived the Dunwich Horror. So, we never got to look at these characters, but... Well, the only one we got to look at was Henry Armitage, but he never came out. So, we lost Francis Morgan, Earl Sawyer, the aforementioned Henry Armitage, Professor Warren Rice, and Zebulon Whately. So they all got sacrificed to the Dunwich Horror. But they all got sacrificed to Yog-Sothoth. But anyway, proceed.
Investigator earns experience equal to the Victory X value of each card in the Victory display. Each investigator earns 2 bonus experience as he or she gains insight into the hidden world of the mythos. Proceed to Scenario 5, Undimensioned and Unseen.
So the 2 experience ultimately won't matter because Daisy picked up her 3rd physical trauma of the campaign. So we're going to skip and there would have been an interlude, but if we would have saved anybody, but we saved absolutely nobody on that scenario. But anyway, that will do it for Blood on the Altar. Like I said, we're going to skip the interlude since Daisy picked up her 3rd trauma. And because of that, we're going to invoke the house rule and wrap the spring campaign here. 3 trauma is a tough start to any scenario, and there are enough enemies that can one-shot Daisy at this point to just make her unplayable. Now, before we jump into the outro, I do want to talk about the house trauma rule. So I've had this house rule on trauma for a while, but this is also the 2nd channel campaign in a row I've had to wrap early due to it, and the 3rd in the last 4 channel campaigns. To that end, I'm going to introduce another house rule on trauma, starting with the fall campaign, where when we're spending experience, we can spend some number of that experience to remove a trauma. Quick spoiler alert here for the Forgotten Age. So if you haven't played TFA yet, skip ahead about, I'd say about 15 to 20 seconds. Anyway, in TFA, there's a point where the investigators can spend 5 experience to clear a trauma, so the idea isn't completely unprecedented. For this house rule, 5 experience still seems a little steep. So I'm going to say that between scenarios, the investigators can spend 4 experience per trauma they wish to clear. I'll also introduce a variant for the end of the campaign, in case I want to carry investigators through, where an investigator, if they happen to have the required experience, can spend the lesser of 4 experience per trauma, or 10 experience to clear their trauma. This way I can actually start to get a little deeper into some of these campaigns and not have to wrap so many of them. I'm also open to feedback about the experience cost to clear trauma in the comments below. Later this week, we'll officially wrap the spring campaign, and then Sunday, we'll step back into the background campaign for Hero Realms. Thank you for watching the video. Please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to turn on notifications so you get my content. Be well, stay safe, take care of yourselves and your loved ones, and I'll be back with more videos in the future. Until then, take care everyone.